Throughout NBA history, there have been players who have been able to beat defenders with ease, magicians of the art of ball handling, with enough technical resources to break the ankles of any player. Welcome to Eternity Hoops. Today, we are going to review the NBA top 10 dribblers of all time. At number 10, what better way to start than with one of the greatest street ball legends, Rafer Alston, or as the people called him, Skip to my Lou. He was a pioneer of many moves in the NBA. His defiant bouncing style always tried to humiliate opponents, and he also tried to push the limits of the rules. Alston was one of those players who could say, "I'm your favorite player's favorite player," but his manners were not always the best. Our next player on the list at number 9 is Pete Maravich. Maravich is one of the most innovative players of his era. Pistol Pete was not only an eminent ball handler, he was also one of the best players in the NBA. The New Orleans Jazz player, who played during the 1970s, averaged 31.1 points per game in his best season, a scoring figure that is only 0.3 of a point lower than LeBron James's career high. Maravich introduced concepts that very few players have been able to replicate. At number 8, we travel to Sacramento, among other franchises, to talk about the next player on our list. He is none other than Jason Williams, or equally known by his nickname, White Chocolate. The point guard for the Sacramento Kings, Memphis Grizzlies, and Miami Heat was a trendsetter for his moves on the court. His love of street ball, like Rafer Alston, allowed him to elevate his game in the NBA. He was not only a great dribbler, but also a great passer, always, of course, in a creative way. It's true that sometimes he was doing too much, which led to turnovers or poor decisions, but the memory of White Chocolate in the NBA will always be golden. At number 7, we travel to San Francisco to look at the career of our next player on the list. As many of you can imagine, it's no other than Stephen Curry. Not only is the point guard unanimously regarded as the best shooter in NBA history, but his ball handling bag is elite. This play against the Clippers and Steve Kerr's reaction clearly sums up what Steph is capable of on a basketball court. And Steph's bests always come out when he gets in a mismatch with big men. With the dual threat of combining his speed with his shooting ability, power forwards and centers can go crazy. Just ask Rudy Gobert, who after being left in an ISO with Steph, needed a map to find himself. When Steph was drafted, Rajon Rondo was one of the best point guards in the league. That's how he got to number 6 on our list, and like other players featured in this video, he was a great passer. Rondo led the NBA in assists 3 times in his career, and his great hands allowed him to be a great ball handler. His behind-the-back bag was incredible. He was also a player who could read both the game and the minds of his defenders. At number 5, we have one of the players Rajon faced during all his career, Chris Paul. But CP3's longevity has allowed him to stick around for a long time in the NBA. The Golden State Warriors' newest player has something in common with that team's star, Stephen Curry. Paul loves to stay in an ISO with big men, and then he proceeds to cook. Needless to say, CP3 is a splendid passer, plus he's excelled throughout his career on the defensive end. The player's small size allows him to keep his center of gravity close to the ground, and with his polished technique, he's able to fool just about every player in the league. At number 4, we have another of the pioneers of many moves that have transcended time in the NBA in Tim Hardaway. The New York Knicks, Atlanta Hawks, and Dallas Mavericks player was one of the best point guards of the 1990s, being a great passer as well as scorer. His crossover was truly deadly and inspired many smaller players who came along later. His ability to change pace and direction at the same time allowed him to leave defenders on skates. And this ability was largely imitated by our next player on the list. Every NBA fan, young or old, has heard of Allen Iverson, and that's number 3 on our list. The Sixers guard, named The Answer, was inspired by Tim Hardaway's crossover move to stretch his image even further. Iverson, at just 6 feet tall, wasn't exactly the world's best shooter, so most of his points came from the paint. Allen had an arsenal of crossover moves that allowed him to get to his hot spots. His crossover mixtapes quickly spread around the world, making Iverson's Sixers jersey one of the 10 best-selling jerseys in NBA history. At number 2, we have one of the players Allen Iverson inspired. He is Kyrie Irving. It's no exaggeration to say that the 2016 NBA champion with the Cleveland Cavaliers is the best player technically we've ever seen. It's as simple as that. Kyrie knows how to do it all on the court. He's a great shooter, a great finisher, and one of the best dribblers in history. Irving played a crucial role in LeBron's championship with the Cavs and has always been regarded as one of the best scorers in the league. However, his role as a leader has always been a bit questionable. Still, watching him play is always a pleasure to watch. Our last player, and probably the one who takes the title of best ball handler in NBA history, is none other than Jamal Crawford. The Seattle native player is a street ball legend and is the master of the tournament that takes place every summer in his hometown, the Seattle Pro-Am. Jamal has introduced moves to the NBA like the shake and bake. In addition, his challenging style of play has always been a nightmare for the league's top defenders. Just ask Wesley Matthews. Despite being 43 years old, the player has been in the NBA until recently and continues to compete and dominate in amateur exhibition tournaments. One of the most talented players to ever come through the association. Every player has his strengths, whether it's shooting, athleticism, defense. There are a lot of things that are good for a team, but none of them have the appeal of the best crossovers in the history of the league. The players capable of performing them are true geniuses in the complicated art of ball handling. These have been the NBA Top 10 dribblers of all time.